All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Nick here with our 2023 preview and prediction for the Kansas Jayhawks. Look at this coaching staff. Lance Leopold, 37-33 in 6 seasons at Buffalo. Past 2 years, he's 8-17 with the Jayhawks. Andy Kotelnicki, he's been with Leopold since 2013, a Broyles Award finalist this past season as the offensive play caller. And Brian Borland, he's been with Leopold since 2017 as the defensive coordinator. All three of these guys worked together at Wisconsin Whitewater way back, so there's plenty of lineage here with them. The Jayhawks, they're coming off their best season since 07-08. They returned 17 starters. You know, Nick, last year, Kansas fans were not happy when I picked them to win a game or two, and I thought they were being ungrateful. I was like, you guys just won a basketball national championship. Why are you upset with my prediction? Well, I will admit I was wrong. But I was happy that I was incorrect on that prediction. I was very excited to see Kansas all year long with an exciting offense and a football team that's no longer a bottom-of-the-barrel Big 12 competitor. Leopold, he spurns the opportunity to potentially go to Nebraska or maybe even better. He stays here, signs an extension. What are your thoughts on what they have going right now in Lawrence?
Certainly owe an apology to Kansas fans. I'll take a mulligan on this one. We were wrong last year. I thought Leopold was the right hire 2 years ago. I think we said that in the episode that we both liked Leopold as a coach, but we didn't expect them to really rattle off a whole lot of wins. They were, America's team for a while. They were a fun team to watch, go to a bowl game for the first time in, God knows how long, 10 plus years, something like that at this point, right? So they really do capture America's hearts. They're building something out there. I think Leopold, like I said it last year, great hire. I think it's continuing to work as a good hire. I'm glad he's staying. When he came up from Buffalo, I think it made a lot of sense. I think it's good for this program to be heading in the right direction. Always, of course, known for their basketball prowess under Bill Self, won a national championship just a season ago. Very talented historical basketball program at Allen Fieldhouse. Now they got the opportunity to build a good football program, hosted game day last year. So the sky is certainly the limit. I like the direction this is going, and hopefully they can kind of put together more stability and start to rattle off some more wins this year.
Now, looking at this offense, this is the biggest reason for this turnaround. They go from 21 points per game to nearly 36, top 25 mark in FBS, top 50 in all categories. They return 10 starters. That's very encouraging. They also have Jason Bean as the backup quarterback who has some great speed. This team was 7th in FBS on th'ird downs. Jalen Daniels, this is a guy who's a true dual-threat athlete, has a big arm, makes plays on the run, is a creative, off-balance playmaker. Some very high upside at 6', 215. Doesn't have great long speed, kind of like Bean does, but the initial burst is well enough to break off a big chunk. Jalen Daniels has like plus 10,000 odds to win the Heisman. I think it's a little ridiculous, Nick, because these dual threat quarterbacks and then all this production around him certainly leads to a big ceiling for him. And you're going to pair him up with a deep backfield led by Devin Neal. He's good at finding open lanes and getting upfield, light on his feet due to quickly changing direction with some ease. Good motor at 5'11", 210. You have Daniel Highshaw. He showcases a great effort, 5'10", 215. Dylan McDuffie, 6', 217. He transfers over from Georgia Tech. He was at Buffalo in 2021, rated 1,000 yards. A good zone runner, some great ball security from him. So at face value, Nick, I think this running game is going to be ridiculous. They were 41st a season ago, about 184 yards per contest. I think you're going to see that uptick over the 200-yard mark this season.
Certainly a talented offense on the ground. I think Neal is a fantastic back, over 1,000 yards rushing, 6.1 yards per carry, 9 scores for him. Daniels is a quarterback, true dual threat. I like his passing a lot, though. I think 66% completion percentage, 2,000 yards through the air, 18 scores and 4 interceptions. That ratio, 18-4, fantastic interception touchdown ratio. I like that a lot. Daniels got some, great ability on the ground. 425 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, plus 7 scores for him. He is a true dual threat quarterback in every sense of the word. I love the talent there. I think he's a very talented quarterback overall. I think the balance on the rushing game between Neal and Daniels, I think it's a great balance to have. It truly is a two-headed monster there, and I like the direction they're heading on the ground. I think they can certainly pick up that rush yards per game. About 183 last year. They can certainly get around that number, even potentially raise it closer to 200 this year.
You look at the receiving group, 14 of the top 16 players that caught a pass this season ago are back, led by Lawrence Arnold at 6'3", 200 pounds, and Luke Graham, he's 6', 190. Tight end Mason Fairchild was a good producer, nice pass blocker. Jared Casey, a veteran. Quentin Skinner was good. Trevor Wilson's going to be an X factor. He was a great player at Buffalo. Should throw his hat in the ring this season and didn't play much a season ago. I think overall this is an impressive group of pass catchers. What are your expectations for the passing attack?
A lot of talent here, a lot of returning production. Arnold, 716 yards receiving last year, 16.3 yards per catch, 4 scores. Grime and Fairchild, leading the team in touchdown receptions, 6 each, 12 yards per catch for both of them. Fairchild, good senior tight end, good leadership, good experience there. Skinner as well, another veteran returning, 5 scores for him, 16.9 yards per catch, 440 yards total for him. I just love the depth and the experience here. Arnold, redshirt junior, Skinner, redshirt junior, Grime, and Fairchild, senior. All right, there's a lot of experience, a lot of veterans here. These guys have been in the program for a while. They've been with Leopold since he's been there. This is fantastic. I love these veteran leadership pieces at the wide receiving core. I think with a quarterback that's got great control over the ball and a good set of skill set in terms of awareness, doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. This passing attack, the sky's the limit again this year. They scored 35 points per game on offense. They can certainly hit that number again this year. They can put up a ton of yards. They're going to score a lot this year. I think it's very exciting for Kansas fans.
Look at the offensive line. They pick up Logan Brown from Wisconsin, an X5 star with some great athletic gifts. Plays with good leverage from his tackle position. Nice balance for his size. Good awareness versus stunts. Potential to be a high-end tackle who is a good, nasty run blocker coming over from the Badgers. I mean, you can't get any better when it comes to discipline and playing with physicality. They picked up Spencer Lavelle from Cal. He's showed flashes of being great in the past. Dominic Puny was probably their best player at left guard. Tackles Earl Bostic, Bryce Calbadaloo. They will need to be better, but the unit gets everyone back, and now they have some depth. Should continue to steadily progress. High expectations for this offensive line. Top to bottom, go A-. I mean, the collection of talent they bring back, 10 starters. We just talked about some of the depth on that offensive line. They're deep in the backfield. They even added McDuffie. Trevor Wilson, I think, is going to step up this year. A- for me. I think that certainly, despite getting all this talent back, the A- is certainly going to be a fair grade because, again, the offensive line does need to show that progression, and they don't exactly have the most elite dynamic players that pass catcher, but players that can play football and produce.
I think A- is certainly right where this offense is. There's a lot of production here returning. Obviously, the 10 starters is a fantastic number. This offensive line, I like the unit. Certainly can improve a little bit, but they got Logan Brown and Spencer Lovell out of the portal. Those are 2 solid adds. 2 guys that got some experience at Wisconsin and Cal, respectively. Nice talent there. Overall, good offense. 35 points per game last year. They certainly should hit that again this year, potentially even do better than that number.
And another few reasons, like what needs to improve on why this offense is being, held at an A- is better red zone efficiency and run game consistency. This was a problem for them a year ago. Only 56 yards against Baylor, 112 in a win over Iowa State. They had 127 or less over the final 3 games, including 59 against Arkansas in the game that's seen 100-plus points combined. Those numbers certainly need to improve, Nick, because during that losing streak, the run game was really not clicking other than the Texas Tech game. I think they were pretty solid against TCU. But in games like Oklahoma, they just could not keep up. Texas, Kansas State, the running game needs to find that consistency. The potential is there to do so.
I certainly agree. There's a lot of potential here with this running game. They got to find that balance, be able to make sure they keep up and avoid mistakes and find themselves getting in holes early down in early drives.
This team went 1-7 over the final 8 games, and that was in due to this defense just being awful. They were just not very good. 127th in yards per game allowed. Back end of college football in those categories. Lonnie Phelps departs. Now, this is going to be a tough year for this defense. It's going to be a prove-it year. The offense certainly did their part. Now it's time for the defense to take over. They lost 6 guys in the portal, 3 at defensive back, Eric Gilliard at linebacker. They did add 7, 5 on the defensive line. So obviously trying to coop some assets in the loss of Lonnie Phelps. They do return 7 starters. Jermaine Robinson has some big shoes to fill up front, but produced at a good level, I'd say. Caleb Sampson, 6'3", 305, gave some good reps. Devin Phillips from Colorado State has been a good run stopper. Austin Booker, Gage Keys from Minnesota, guys that come from a disciplined program, good depth and some solid adds in hopes of getting much better support against the run. What are your thoughts on the trenches here for Kansas? Because on the offensive side of the ball, it looks pretty good, but losing Lonnie Phelps, who was a big-time producer for them season ago, it's going to be felt for this program.
I agree. I think their trenches certainly have some holes they got to fill. Lonnie Phelps is a big ass to fill his production. Really talented piece on the defensive line. The 11.5 tackles for loss, the 7 sacks for him. They got to come from somewhere. I think there is some serious talent on this defensive line. I like the potential production they have. Big shoes to fill, though. They do return 7 starters overall, and the defense certainly helps.
Looking at the middle of the defense, they got some good returning experience. Rich Miller was the second leading tackler. Craig Young was third. He also made an impact in coverage as a versatile player. Lined up in the slot a good bit, so I like to see that from players like him. He was a good pass rusher as well. They also picked up J.B. Brown from Bowling Green. This guy was a big hitter. Deep depth is a tad iffy in the linebacking core, but I would certainly like to see them continue to progress just like the rest of this football team. I think the potential is certainly there. This is certainly a unit that I'm a little iffy on.
I like Miller. I like Young. Miller's 94 total tackles for him, second on the team, 3 tackles for loss and a sack for him. Craig Young, 60 tackles, but he has the 5.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. So he's certainly more of your backfield threat. Rich Miller is more of your open field tackler there. They both have very talented linebackers. I think the front 7 overall is not a bad unit. Certainly the depth does concern me a little bit, and they got to replace that production in the backfield of the pass rush. But overall, I think it's a solid unit.
You look at a secondary, they were 108th in pass yards per game allowed. I think they've certainly progressed compared to where they were in 2021. Kenny Logan, he's been a mainstay in the back end at safety, 100-plus tackles in 2 straight seasons. Wasn't as good of a tackler in terms of being